Alright, on the bench this week is a classical guitar. This is a Takamine model C132S. And judging by the serial number, it's made in 1988. June of 1988 to be specific. This one comes from the collection of the Amazing J. And he was just telling me last month how it's been a while since this thing had new strings and has been gone through. And then him and his friend were sitting around, popping some cold snacks, and popped a string on it as soon as they started playing it. So we're going to get it cleaned up, put some new strings on it, and maybe try to address this problem down here, which is a big hole. I'm told that a PA speaker fell over into this and caused that hole years and years and years ago. But let's see if I could try to fix that. I mean, maybe not make it look like it was never there, but maybe try to bring that wood out to where it's supposed to be, so it's all sitting on the correct planes rather than being folded over there and folded over there. I wonder if I can get my hands in there or use something soft to kind of lever it out. I don't know. Let me set you up. We'll take the strings off and we'll start coming up with a plan. Alright, good news, I can get my hands in there and I can feel around the damage, but I can't really get any leverage. I'm going to try some of these body tools. They're kind of soft plastic, and I'm not going to go crazy with it, just give it a little push and see if I can get it to come back out level again. I just can't seem to get the leverage with anything like that. This kind of long U-clamp, I'm wondering if I can kind of get it in to bring it back out very gently. Back a little bit there. Let's see if I can start bringing it in from the edge. I gotta somehow lever it up here. This portion here needs to be pushed up at the same time that this portion is held steady. And then I think it would sit flat. That's easier said than done, though. I have to think on this one. I can use that clamp in a different way. Alright, let me think. So I had some success. Now, it might not look it on camera, but this section here and this section are all pretty flat and smooth. There's this dimple right here, which is where it took the hit, and that's still kind of crushed in, but not much I can do about that but fill it. So I'll show you how I was able to pop it out. I went through my scrap wood pile, and I found this kind of wedge-shaped, maybe off of a 2x6. And I kind of sat it in here about right there inside the guitar. And then I took a couple wrenches. I had a 15 and a 17 mil. And I kind of put them in there. And if you ever saw a paintless dent removal, they just kind of work the little dent from the backside. And that's kind of what I did. And I just kind of kept working it and pushing it out a little bit at a time until it finally kind of popped back even. And as I got closer down towards that dimple in the bottom seam, I switched to a 15 millimeter. It was a little shorter. So that was pretty good. And yeah, I'll take it. So the next thing I'm going to do is take some wood stain and kind of just touch up some of these raw areas so they're just not so noticeable. And then I'm going to mix up some 2-part quick setting epoxy, and we'll just run a bead there and run a bead there, and should be able to sand it and buff it once it sets, and it'll be nice and smooth. I mean, you're always going to see that there's a patch there, but it's better than a hole catching your armpit, right? So yeah, I'm happy with that. You know, certain lights you can see where it was. Let's see if I can find one. There you go. You see that ripple? But I mean, it's nice and smooth over that area. It's not going to be in your face when it's hanging on the wall that there was a hole there, but you know, it's hidden to the eye at first glance, you know. So I've polished down the guitar. I've oiled up the fretboard. And I think I'm ready to put some strings on it. So I have stacks of guitar books here, magazines and stuff. I pulled out a couple that I thought were appropriate to this guitar. The first one I have is the Mel Bay Classic Method. This is from 1970. And I actually remember going through this. It's got a lot of my handwriting on a lot of different pages. Way back when I was learning in the mid-'80s, I think I had a classic nylon string, or it might have been acoustic. I don't recall what I was using this book for, but maybe just to learn more theory. And I also have this book here by Aaron Shearer. This one came out in 1959. I think this is a 69 printing, but this one is quite verbose. You know, you have the Mel Bay classic guitar. The Mel Bay was like the guitar for dummies of its day, and then this thing, I mean, if this was a book on audio, it would have to be read by George Plimpton. It is so old, you know, old school English. I don't speak of the English as good as I used to. But, you know, going through here, I found this one at the very end, The Care of the Guitar. So I'll read you what he has to say while I'm putting the strings on for that one. Care of the guitar. Students often inquire concerning general care of the guitar, how to minimize the chances of the instrument cracking, the finish becoming marred or checked, and the neck warping. First, it must be emphasized that reputable manufacturers guarantee their guitars against faulty materials and workmanship, but this only, not against improper care of instruments or the unpredictable nature of wood itself. Obviously, this places considerable responsibility upon the owner of a good guitar to treat it as a rather delicate and sensitive instrument it is. Some of the most important points on the proper care of the guitar are: 1. Never subject a guitar to sudden extreme changes in temperature or humidity or the direct sunshine. 2. I didn't understand this one. If the guitar must be kept in a steam-heated room, keep a container of water on the radiator and a humidifier in the guitar case. So, isn't a room that's steam-heated, doesn't that automatically have moisture? Why would you need to do all that? If you know, let me know. Never tune the guitar to a higher pitch than standard, A440. If the 6 strings are tuned even slightly high, a dangerous amount of unnecessary strain is exerted upon the whole instrument, including the neck and bridge. Number 4, alcohol, acids from food, and even perspiration can mar the finish. Keep the finish clean and frequently apply a good polish sold by any recognized guitar manufacturer. He follows it up with: the possibility that the guitar may crack will be lessened considerably by following the advice offered in items 1 and 2 above. The reader must remember, however, that all wooden instruments, violins, woodwinds, and pianos, as well as guitars, sometimes crack regardless of the quality or care given. Generally, the appearance of a crack in a guitar constitutes no grave damage if given proper and immediate attention. The instrument should simply be taken to a qualified guitar or violin repairman to be fixed before the crack widens or lengthens. That's not me. Rarely, if ever, does a repaired crack detract, at least from the tone, response, playability, or to any serious degree from the appearance of the instrument. That's pretty good. My fingers are so damn fat to do that kind of tying. I'm glad I don't have to do that all the time. These on here were Daddario EJ45s, and they're the ones with the steel at the top and the nylon at the bottom. I don't really do these too much, so I didn't get into, how deep I do it, but at this end I always like to do the staple, which is like you feed it through the bottom, wrap it around, feed it back through, and then it staples it. And before you pull it taut, you probably want I like to pull about 8 inches up off the 12th fret, somewhere up in here, and that's about how much slack, and that gives you a good winding, 3 or 4 coils. I like to do a little more windings on the nylons at the bottom, but if you staple them down, that's pretty good. Let's see, at this end, when I was doing the tying, you only need 1 knot on the steels, but you need 2 knots on the nylons. And as I was wrapping each end, I'd put it underneath the nylon, underneath the next one in line, so they kind of just go down, and then you just got to really trim the last 2 off a little bit. But I don't like to trim them until I get them taut and in place, So, yeah, that's pretty good. That leaves me with 2 here to trim at the end, the B and the E, and they're nice and tight. That should be pretty good.
It feels beautiful, man. Like new.
What do you say, Takamine or Takamine?
Takamine.
Alright. Well, that's one way to fix a hole in your bucket, dear Liza, dear Liza. You know, if this was just a simple crack, I might have gone about it a little differently. If I can get the pieces to line up, I might have just went with some CA glue, maybe a little more heavier wood glue on the inside. But with that big impact there, that big divot, really limited my options. So I'll take this. It's not going to be a distraction. When it's hanging on the wall, it's not going to clip your arm or your hand when you're playing. And yeah, result. So I want to thank you for watching. Give me a thumbs up for filming it for you, and we'll talk again soon.